At my retirement party, I caught my daughter-in-law staring at my champagne glass just a little too long. When she smiled and handed it to me, I smiled back and quietly switched our drinks. 10 minutes later, she collapsed. And that's when I knew. It wasn't paranoia. It was a plan. But what she didn't know? I had a plan too. And it started the moment she hit the floor. If you think I did the right thing, go comment, "We stand with Sarah." Don't forget to subscribe, because this story only gets wilder from here. Before we begin, make sure to hit that subscribe button and leave a comment if you've ever trusted someone, only to realize they were smiling while holding a knife behind their back. Because that's exactly what this story is about. My name is Sarah Wilson. I'm 70 years old, and I've worked every single day of my life to build something real, something that would last. Not just wealth, but legacy, respect, security. I owned a chain of senior rehabilitation centers for over 3 decades. I started it from nothing. A borrowed desk, a stack of files, and no safety net. By the time I retired, I'd sold the company for just over $12 million. I was finally ready to enjoy the rest of my life in peace. But peace was the last thing my family had planned for me. It began with a retirement party. My daughter-in-law Jessica insisted on hosting it. It should be something elegant, she'd said, practically dragging me into her Pinterest boards. My son Michael nodded along like he always did. The venue was beautiful. Rented gardens strung with lights, soft jazz playing, champagne flowing. The whole thing was Jessica's idea, of course. Her taste was expensive. But I didn't mind, not at first. She handed me a glass of champagne as I stood near the fountain. "To the Queen," she said, raising her flute. "You've earned it." I smiled, but something in her eyes made me pause. Too wide, too forced. As she looked away, I watched her lips move slightly. She was mouthing something to Michael across the lawn. They both smiled. And just like that, I knew. Something was off. I quietly swapped our glasses when she turned to fix her lipstick. 10 minutes later, Jessica collapsed on the stone path. A mild seizure, they said. Must have been something she ate, maybe a reaction to medication. But I knew better. And when I looked across the lawn, Michael wasn't running to her side. He was watching me, closely. That night, after the party ended and the guests went home, I sat in the dark of my study replaying everything in my head. The smiles, the glass, the collapse, and the voice in my gut, the one that helped me survive 40 years in business, whispered, "They want something, and they're not asking nicely." The next morning, Jessica texted to say she was feeling better and wanted to check in on me. Michael said they were both worried, said I'd looked tired lately, not myself. Funny, I'd never felt sharper. 2 days later, they took me out for brunch. Jessica smiled like nothing had happened. Michael made a point of mentioning how a colleague had recently moved his mother into a beautiful place called Sunset Manor. Luxury senior living, he called it. "You'd love it there, Mom," he added, stirring his coffee. "It's safer than living alone, especially after what happened with Jess. What if something like that happens to you?" I raised my eyebrows. "A mysterious medical episode, you mean? From food she didn't eat?" Michael froze. Jessica coughed. "We're just thinking about your future," she said sweetly. "After the sale of your company, you're in a position to relax. Let others take care of you." That was the moment I knew they weren't just hinting at a move. They had a plan, and I was standing in their way. When we left the restaurant, I called an old friend from the business world, Helen Peterson. We'd sat on multiple nonprofit boards together over the years. She was sharp, loyal, and not easily shocked. "Something's going on," I told her. "I think my family's trying to shove me into a retirement home so they can take control of my money." Helen didn't even hesitate. "What do you need?" "A witness," I said. "Someone to see what I see. Someone who can help me figure out what the hell my own son is plotting." Helen came over that evening. We reviewed the events of the party, and I showed her the texts I'd received since. Then I played her a voicemail from Michael. It said, "Mom, I know you've been through a lot. Jessica and I just want to help you transition. We found a perfect unit at Sunset Manor. No pressure, but we'll bring over the paperwork tomorrow. Helen stared at the phone in silence. They've already scheduled a facility meeting, she said slowly. They're trying to lock you in before you even realize what's happening. I nodded. And I think there's more. I think there's something darker. Helen leaned forward. What are you going to do? I poured us both a glass of wine. I'm going to give them exactly what they want, I said. Just not the way they expect to get it. If you've ever felt betrayed by your own blood, if you've seen the moment greed replaces love in someone's eyes, go comment, "We stand with Sarah." And don't forget to subscribe, because next, we dig deeper. And the truth? It's going to hit hard. The next morning, Michael and Jessica arrived right on time, dressed like it was a casual Sunday, holding a binder and fake smiles. We brought the documents, Jessica chirped, sitting down on my floral couch like she owned it. You don't need to sign today, of course. We just wanted you to have them. The binder was thick, too thick for just living arrangements. I opened it slowly. Page after page of legal jargon stared back at me, some highlighted, some not. In the middle was the killer, a durable power of attorney form. My son's name already filled in. Michael looked calm, too calm. It's just in case, Mom, he said. If anything happens, it makes sense for me to manage things. You always said I was the practical one. I tilted my head, pretending to consider it. And if I don't sign this? Jessica's smile didn't fade. Of course, it's up to you. But Sunset Manor has limited availability, and your slot won't stay open forever. I excused myself to get some water, but really, I went to the hidden camera I'd installed the night before. Helen's contact had walked me through everything. The lens was tucked between two antique books, angled perfectly at the coffee table. When I returned, I placed the water down slowly, watching as Jessica subtly rotated the binder toward me. Her fingers tapped the signature line. I stared at it for 5 full seconds. Then I closed the binder and handed it back. I'll think about it, I said. You've both given me a lot to consider. Michael's jaw clenched. It's really just a formality, Mom. You can trust us. I smiled sweetly. Of course, I always trust my family. That night, Helen and I watched the footage together. Jessica's whisper right after I left the room. We've got her. She's hesitating, but one more push and she'll break. Michael's reply, she better. I already told the bank I'm managing her assets starting next month. We both sat in silence. I could press charges, I said. That was coercion, fraud in motion. Helen nodded. You could, but I think we can do better. So we made a plan. I met with my lawyer the next day. I transferred all liquid assets to a blind trust. I updated my will. I assigned medical power of attorney to Helen, someone who had never tried to slip something in my drink at a retirement party. And then I played my role, the fading, forgetful old woman. Over the next week, I let Jessica bring me meal kits, let Michael help me with errands, let them feel like they were inching closer. Then came Sunday, the day they decided to take action. Michael arrived with movers. You don't have to lift a thing, Mom, he said brightly. They'll pack everything up. Sunset Manor is all ready. I blinked at him. I thought we were still discussing it. You were, Jessica said sharply. But we've made the decision for you. It's what's best. I sat on the couch, hands folded, letting them believe they'd won. The movers entered. Boxes clattered. Jessica wandered upstairs. That's when Helen stepped in from the kitchen. She was holding a manila envelope. Jessica, Michael, before you move another spoon, you might want to see this. She handed them each a copy. Jessica scanned hers. Her face turned pale. These are trust documents? She asked. Why are these notarized? Michael flipped to the last page. You signed everything over to someone else? Helen folded her arms. To a trust, one you're not part of. Sarah doesn't owe you anything, legally or otherwise. Jessica shook her head. This isn't real. She's confused. You've manipulated her. No, I said, standing up slowly. What's real is that I trusted you, and you tried to drug me. That's what's real. Michael's face drained of color. You can't prove that. I held up a flash drive. Actually, I can. I walked over to the antique bookshelf, pulled out the hidden camera, and placed it gently on the table. Jessica backed away like it was a weapon. You recorded us? Every word, I said softly. The bank has a copy. So does my lawyer. Michael looked like he might throw up. I stepped closer. You came into my house, waved papers in my face, tried to take my money, my freedom, and you thought I'd just fold? I didn't build a company from scratch to be bullied by my own son and his wife. Jessica grabbed her bag. Come on, Michael. We don't need this. But Michael didn't move. He looked at me, eyes shining with something that might have been guilt or regret. Maybe both. You're really cutting us off? He asked quietly. I nodded. No, I'm setting a boundary. One you should have respected long before now. Jessica stormed out. Michael followed, slower this time. When the door shut, I turned to Helen. You think they'll come back? She smiled. Probably, but not with boxes next time. If you think I did the right thing by protecting myself, go and comment, I would have done exactly what Sarah did. And if you've ever had to outsmart your own family, stay tuned, because we're not done yet. The fallout didn't come all at once. It crept in, through whispers at church, side eyes from neighbors, and a Facebook post Jessica shared just 2 days later. It was a photo of me, from the retirement party. I was smiling, drink in hand, before I switched glasses. The caption read, Sometimes letting go of toxic elders is the healthiest decision you can make for your family. Boundaries aren't cruelty, they're survival. The comments poured in. Friends of theirs chiming in about entitled boomers, greedy grandmas, and people who forget who raised them. She knew exactly what she was doing. Jessica was rewriting the narrative before I could speak, but I didn't flinch. I didn't clap back. I waited. Helen came over with Thai food and a grin. She's painting you as unstable, she said, scrolling the comments. They're rallying the troops. They're underestimating me, I replied, calmly dipping a spring roll. Again. A week later, the story changed. Jessica claimed I had hit her, that during a moment of confusion, I'd thrown a vase at her during their visit. Of course, there was no police report, no bruises, just carefully placed rumors. But it worked. Invitations stopped coming. My bridge club suddenly rescheduled. One neighbor who'd always waved across the street now pulled her blinds when I came outside. They'd poisoned my reputation, piece by piece, so I invited them to tea, not Jessica and Michael, the neighborhood women, the ones who whispered. I hosted a reflection afternoon, complete with cakes, herbal tea, and soft music. And when everyone was seated, I played the video. The one where Jessica whispered, We've got her, one more push and she'll break. The one where Michael said, I already told the bank I'm managing her assets next month. Not a sound in the room. When it ended, I simply said, They tried to take everything. And when I said no, they tried to destroy me instead. By the time they left, my calendar was full again. Sometimes the truth doesn't roar. Sometimes it just waits, quiet and patient, for the perfect time to be undeniable. 2 days later, Jessica deleted the Facebook post. But I wasn't done. With Helen's help, I reached out to a friend who ran a podcast, one focused on elder financial abuse, especially within families. I told my story, not angrily, not dramatically, just honestly. It aired 3 weeks later under the title, When Your Own Family Becomes the Threat, Sarah's Story. It got thousands of listens, emails flooded in, women like me, men with similar scars, grandparents estranged from children after refusing to hand over inheritances. It was a tidal wave of shared pain, and for the first time, I didn't feel alone, but neither did Michael. He showed up again. Not with movers or documents this time, just a paper bag and hollow eyes. I brought cinnamon rolls, he said softly. I let him in. He sat at the kitchen island, same spot as before. I didn't know she'd go that far, he said. The Facebook post, the lies. I thought, I thought if I just played along, we'd all win. There is no winning when you're lying to your own mother, I said quietly. I know, he whispered. She left me. My eyes met his. What? She moved out last week, said I was spineless, said I let you ruin her. She's filing for divorce. I didn't know what to say. Part of me felt vindicated. Another part, just tired. I'm not asking for money, he added. I wanted to say, I'm sorry. Truly. I looked at him. My son. The boy I raised on coupons and leftovers. The man who once called me his hero, and then tried to write me off like a business expense. Sorry is a start, I said. But it's not the end. I know. We sat in silence, broken only by the hum of the fridge and the scent of warm cinnamon. A week later, he joined me at a local community center where I'd been invited to speak about my story. He didn't speak that first time, just watched. But at the second event, he introduced me. He told the room. My name is Michael. I hurt my mother in ways I'm still trying to make right. And if you're watching this thinking, my kid would never do that. Trust me, mine thought the same. Forgiveness isn't a door, it's a hallway. We're still walking it, slowly. And as for Jessica, she's not part of my story anymore. Not in my home, not in my heart, and not in my future. Because I finally learned something. Just because someone shares your blood doesn't mean they're allowed to bleed you dry. If you think I did the right thing by protecting my peace and standing my ground, go comment, "No one messes with Mom," and don't forget to subscribe and share your story too. You're not alone, and your voice matters.